Like that was the only
What up? Oh, it's another Thursday. Shannon's clapping, that's cool. I was mentally unprepared for this today, so we're just gonna rock it into this.
I'm gonna turn this up a little bit.
Turn it up?
Yeah.
The big volume?
Good?
What about now?
Is that good in the
People
back?
in the back. Ethan.
Hi, Zach.
I'm not Zach. But
Okay.
we're just gonna, I'll be Zach. That's cool.
Hey, where's Zach?
We're talking about a different Zach, not you, Zach. Yeah, Zach confusion. I wish I was Zach. All right.
You're on the internet right now.
Yeah, I know. Oh, man. All right. So announcements, similarly different, is on the 5th of November, a week from today. That show opens, and it's going to be in the AB Lobby Gallery. Right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So that was a question, so I wasn't sure. But now we know. AB Lobby Gallery. And then the downstream tour is on the 20th of November. Making it up. Tickets are online. It's free. Just need to go online and reserve your ticket. That's all, unless anybody has anything else. I'm going to read this bio about Zach. Here we go. Zech Bard writes small sentences for big brands. He is currently the head writer at Digital Creative Studio Instrument, and that means words come out of him for money. Most recently for Levi's, Google, Patagonia, the Met, and the Daily Beast. He is also a Wieden+Kennedy's 12 school alumni. So, round of applause for Zach.
I thought maybe he was going to rap a little bit. I had to go to the bathroom downstairs, and it looks like there's a key that you need to get in the bathroom.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Sorry.
I know, I made
You can
it.
go to the bathroom now?
I did get in the bathroom, but I asked, there were some people walking through the door, I said, does anyone have a bathroom key? And they just shook their heads. And then somebody said, I think it's just your student card, dude. So I think he thinks I look like a student, which is good. I'm staying young. Everyone's like, let's get on with it. There we go. Beautiful. Oh, it's one of these things. Oh, looks like it's not.
Okay, I need help with this part. It's not mirroring or sliding over. I think you drag it over here.
There we go.
The full screen.
We can also mirror it too. Yeah.
I don't work at a digital agency or anything. How do computers work? So thanks everybody for coming out and spending your lunchtime with me. I hope that you had lunch. I started this presentation with a blank page because I think when people have hello on the front page, it's kind of expected. So I just got sick of hello. But I think that's a great logo. Who did that logo?
It was Vanessa Despain.
Vanessa Despain, good job. If you're watching on the internet, give yourself 2 pats on the back.
She's a new employee at Instrument, actually.
Oh, whoops. Wow. So that's going to come back to haunt me. Well, welcome to Instrument, Vanessa. Good to have you here. I hope that we meet. There's a lot of new people. That's not an excuse. That's not an excuse. Yeah, wow, that was depressing. She sits next to you also. That's what they're going to tell me next. Cool, so I wanted to start with something everyone loves, cat videos. This is actually my cat, and he has a word for y'all. And I hope this works. You might want to crank it, because it's really, it might be paranormal. Here it goes. Did everybody get that? Okay, good, because it would probably be way too hard to replay that. We taught him how to say hello. This is where it kind of chugs, so I should probably have something prepared to say, but I don't.
Today's actually International Cat Day.
Is it really?
It is. The internet told me.
How many people in here own a cat? Not enough people. You guys know about the Humane Society? All right, go help a cat out. This happened before when I tried to do it, so I'm just gonna have to do one of these manual overrides, you know. Adobe usually works fine in all aspects, right? Okay, so I'm Zach. I'm a head writer and a designer and a thinker. I think head writer is a funny title. I made it up for myself because we just started a writing team at Instrument, and I think it sounds cool. But I want to bring myself back down to earth. This is an email I wrote to the Portland airport yesterday, and I had lost a razor at the airport, and I sent them this email, and I said, I lost a Braun electric razor in case fully charted. Looks like this, with a picture of the razor in the case. So really quick poll here, because polls are really big right now. How many people think I got a response that they found the razor? 2, 3 people? All right. Wow. Low expectations of the Portland airport. It's a great airport. How many people think I lost the razor and it's never coming back? Okay, y'all are wrong because they found it. I got this nice message from this nice person named Mandy, who probably works at Instrument. And she said, we found your razor, come get it. So now I gotta go back to the airport just to get a razor. Do you know how? Okay, never mind. Let's move on. This is my son, he's 3 months old. It's just an obligatory photo because I feel guilty not showing off a picture of his face. He's got huge lips. It's kind of like a freak of nature thing. She liked that joke. She's the only one that liked that joke. So things I do, I write words on the internet people mostly ignore. I do brand therapy, which sounds real dumb, but I think it makes sense. And I can talk to you about that later. And I come up with helpful and non-helpful ideas. And today I want to talk to you about the third one, because some of these might be helpful for you as a designer, illustrator, whatever you're doing here. When I was a student, I had these questions in my mind about, is this the right major for me? Am I in the right classes? Am I wasting my time? Am I wasting money? I need to figure it all out. I need to have the right path carved out. And I think that's kind of when I go back to school, I think that. Sometimes I still think that. But these are the questions that I kind of ask myself a lot. And I think there's an answer to get you to answer these questions for yourself. First of all, I don't think if you're in the wrong, I don't think there's a wrong major. I think that you can learn something in any major, but the key is boredom, and that's what I want to talk about today. I did not set the type for this presentation. My friend Tim did, so if you like how it looks, do not think any higher of me. So thank you, Tim. So it's all about boredom, and I think boredom is really useful in our lives in a couple ways. You need it, and I think you're figuring out what you do as a creative person. And I think you don't need it when it comes to your work. And I'll explain that. So first, your life. There's a quote by Albert Einstein that adversity introduces a man to himself. I think that's true. I think you really learn about yourself when you have to go through hard times. I think for us, boredom introduces us to what we should be doing every day. And what I mean by that is boredom talks to you. Boredom says you should be doing this. Boredom says, wouldn't it be exciting to blank? and you kind of maybe set it aside and say maybe later because you have other stuff to work on. But I really think it's important that you make the space to get bored, because it's really easy to just be on Facebook all the time, or swiping Tinder. I saw this guy at a show swiping Tinder dates in the middle of the show and then like closing it out, checking his email. I was like, what a strange world we live in right now. But like, you can fill all the space of your life with distraction. If you sit down on a Sunday or a Saturday or whatever day off you have and you go, I'm not going to do anything, I'm just going to get bored and I'm going to see what I want to do with that space, that's huge, because that's a decision you have to make. Because you're going to always be like, oh, what's on Netflix? Let me call up a friend, let's do something. Maybe make some space to get bored and then listen to it. For me, my first design job was at a place called Focus 2, and I was a designer, and I was insistent upon doing logos and stationery, and websites weren't as big a deal, but coming up with concepts, that was my thing. I was like, I'm a designer, yeah. But my boss actually went to Burning Man every year, back before it was cool. And he left the studio open for a week, and he's like, you're in charge of the studio for a week. And so I had a lot of nothing to do that week, but I had to show up. And what I did with my time is I made a postcard, and we've been making postcards because clients were asking for them. This was like the era of postcard, 2004. And I had all the templates up, and I was like, I want to make something. And so as a designer, you think I made some cool design just for the heck of it. But actually, I made this postcard, which is full of words. And at the time, I didn't think like, oh, you like to write. Look at all these words. I was thinking, I'm using Archer. Archer's great. Archer just come out. I was like, I'm using Archer. It really looks great. Look at how good Archer looks. And it was like, this isn't even that well designed. I mean, it's not spectacular. But I'll read something to you. So it was meant to be like a checklist where you wouldn't have to write someone a personal note. You would just check these boxes. For example, dear friend, it has been difficult with the restraining order. I'm writing to test the U.S. mail system. I miss our, can't really read this here, late night monologues. Thank you. I miss our late night monologues. You might say that to someone. It's good to know that you still claim me as a social networking ally. Period. Next time you're in town, be sure and drop by unannounced. Farewell, life coach. And so just like a Madlibs thing that I thought was really fun. But I didn't go, hey, I'm bored, and so I'm writing. So maybe I'm a writer, not a designer, because you're like, I'm a designer. I identify as a designer, and I have an opinion about all logos. After that job, I got laid off due to the economy. It was just a studio of 2 people, me and my boss, and I had some space to figure out what I wanted to do. So I went back to school to Wieden+Kennedy, Wieden+Kennedy 12, which is an ad school that Wieden used to do with 13 people, and I'll explain why it's called 12 separately. But these 13 people have no prior advertising experience. So the idea is that people without training can actually make things that are more interesting than people with training sometimes. And so I went back to school, and the head of the class that year was Jim Riswold, who was a famous copywriter in the 80s. He did a lot of ads for Nike, and in the 90s, Tiger Woods and Bo knows, and he brought Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny together first, which became Space Jam, unfortunately. But in the beginning, it was just ads for Nike. So he did a lot of these iconic ads, and he told me, you're a writer, even though I had submitted as a designer. So again, the boredom thing was actually kind of true. And I didn't know why he said this, so I asked him yesterday, and he said, that. I said, hey, why did you say I'm a writer? And he said, because you can write. Thanks, Jim, for that, really expounding on that. So while I was doing 12, I'm learning a lot. There's a lot of people at Wieden that are very smart. They come from all around the world. They're working on the best brands, best campaigns for Nike and for Old Spice and for Levi's, back in the day. And so a lot of that stuff was really inspirational, and so Boredom was like, hey, you should be writing, keyword writing this down. And every day I made a blog post on a website I called What I Learned in School Today. And I had a little quip about what somebody told me, and had a paragraph about what that means to me. And I made it into a little book as well. And so I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to actually download that book, because there's no more books in print. But if you want to read what I wrote, it's on that PDF. I put it up there last night for you guys. So don'tgetbored.com/psu.pdf. And that has all these things that I learned in school. But again, writing. There's not really a whole lot of design to it. All right, part two. So your life needs to, you as a creative person, as a designer, as a illustrator, whatever you are, make space with boredom and listen to it, and find the thing that maybe you're not doing that could be helpful for you. Part two, in your work with your clients, how do you help their work be not boring? And at Instrument, we work with a lot of companies that you would look at and say, I don't understand what you do. A lot of tech companies, a lot of apps. And a lot of people would say, well, we can't make that exciting. That ain't gonna work. So what does it do? It's a bunch of APIs. Okay. There's a sentiment out there that like some kind of clients are cool to work on and some clients are lame to work on. And I don't want to work on the lame ones. And actually, that's a fallacy, because it depends on what you bring to it. Look at your own portfolio. Do you spend a lot of time on your website and making you look really good? I hope so. Are you particularly interesting to the rest of the world? Are you like a Nike to the rest of the world? No, nobody knows who you are. You spend a lot of time making your own work really attractive. And the same goes for the guy on the street who has like a lawn mowing business. You're like, I don't really want to help that guy because that's not going to be I'm not going to get paid well, or he's not going to understand what I do. And that's kind of a BS mentality, because you can make any project interesting. You can make any client interesting. In fact, I think it's your duty to do that. And at Instrument, that's what we have to do. We call it making the complex simple, because there's a lot of complexity to brands and a lot of complexity to apps and campaigns and products and things that people are making with code, but we make it appear super easy to use and super fun to want to partake in. And I just want to update this slogan, because simplicity, I think, can be pretty boring sometimes. Look at the minimalism. There's a lot of minimalism out there, in websites right now and apps. Minimalism is great because everyone can agree it's really simple, and it looks really clean, and why not? It's a square and it has this thing on it, and sure, okay. But that can be super boring. Just to do something that's minimal for minimalism's sake isn't that exciting. It's in the details. So how you scroll down the page, what happens when you click a link, those details are where you can shine. And that's where we spend a lot of our time, if we're building a website, with making the magic in the details, because the framework sometimes is out of our control, and we have to work with what we have. And so I'm going to show a couple examples of how we made the complex very not boring. And I kind of said that. All right, Google data centers. I'm going to take a drink of water because this is going to get good. I promise. At some point it will get good. So how much time do I have, by the way? What am I shooting for?
You have the hour, man. It's
Oh, the
right now,
hour.
12:22, and you're good.
The parking guy didn't say I had the hour. He's out there watching me. He's looking at his watch. I saw him when I drove up. He's like, I got you. You're gonna be easy. You're $39 easy dollars to the city of Portland. Thank you for parking here. So Google data centers. Google, everyone knows what Google is, and if you don't, then man, you're about to get a great company on your radar to want to work for. Google came to us at Instrument and said, we have a lot of photos of our data centers. And data centers are the places, the servers, and the places around the world where they store Google. So they're basically warehouses, and that sounds really exciting, right? No. Servers are pretty boring, and people don't care about servers. People care about the internet and what's on it, and my Gmail and maps working. That's all they care about. So the task for this project was to make this not boring. And the photos were doing a good job of that. We didn't shoot these, but the photographer really did a lot about making these places seem vast and sort of important and considered. And this is the underground of a data center in Norway, I believe. And each of the pipes is a color that means something. So Google didn't just paint these rainbow colors; they painted them based on what's inside the pipe. So the blue is cold, and the red is warm, and the pink is like waste or something. So that's a lot of thought and detail that went into this kind of room. And so we started thinking about, well, what else is detailed about a data center? These are the servers that contain your emails and maps and all that kind of stuff. And they're constantly fixing them and swapping hard drives out. And it's an incredible thing that no one gets to see, because this was the first time they were going to let people inside. And so we had this idea that if your stuff is on here, the internet that you use is on here, this is where the internet lives. And so the idea that a server is pretty boring, but the fact that what's on the server is someone's life, is someone's house, is someone's baby photos, is your favorite news website or something. It's all on these servers, and that's important to people. So finding that thread of truth and making it apparent to people. So this was Google put it on the homepage of Google back when I had this old iPhone. Man, that looks janky now, right? And it's probably the most people that saw something I wrote in the world. And it was all downhill from there. That was exciting. Second project I want to talk about is for the Daily Beast. Daily Beast, if you don't know, is a news website, and they're kind of snarky. They have big headlines. They have a lot of like highbrow, lowbrow content is their thing. So they'll have something on the presidential race next to the Kardashians, which now is like every news website. But at the time, it was really about pushing the envelope with different topics. And most of the news websites are boring. Most of the news apps are boring. If you get CNN, or if you get MSNBC, or if you get Al Jazeera, they all pretty much look the same, okay? They're just stories, and you're flipping through them trying to find interesting ones. So overall, it's pretty boring content that people just want to get to the point. And so we had this idea based on the slogan of the Daily Beast was "Read this, skip that" they started with. And we like the idea that you can read something and you can skip something. But what we hadn't seen before is the idea that you could actually not just skip something, but like get rid of it. So if you don't like a story about the Kardashians, instead of being like, why is this here? A lot of people will be like, look at this story, and it's next to this important story. But it'd be more fun to actually delete the Kardashians from the headline. That's fun. So the client was like, well, don't you think people might need a way to go back in time and get that story? Like, what if they don't really want to delete it? We're like, no, they should just delete it. And it goes away forever. And they're like, oh. But we convinced them because the news changes so much that we basically said no one goes back in time and reads yesterday's news. And they're like, you're right. So the unboring part of this was actually, this is some screens from the app. It's not exactly how it ended up, but it's pretty close. You can get it now on your phone. You don't have to download it though. It doesn't. We're not working with them anymore. But I mean, it'd be cool if we did. But it's like, don't necessarily go download it. There's the second frame there. You can swipe to skip, so you can actually skip that story and it goes away forever. See ya. And then another part of making the news unboring was taking their tone and voice. And I made these posters for the client before they came over for the pitch. And this was a pitch. We were trying to win the work. And this doesn't really make any sense to make posters for a digital news agency when they don't even work in print. But as a designer, I think hopefully most of you are designers, and making posters is pretty much the funnest thing you can do. I think that any chance you can make a poster for a client is a great thing because they love it. They love looking at something about them, and they love the fact that you spent time on it, and it's really simple. And so, of course, they were like, yeah, these are great. No other agencies made us posters. You guys win. Okay. And then it was part of what made us make them unboring. At Instrument, kind of working, I was there when there was maybe 25 people. Now there's 125. As clearly I know this now. Hey Vanessa, what's up? It's there you have, even if it's a big agency that you go work at or a small agency, you have the ability to make things better. And a graduate actually from PSU, Tina Snell-Lee, does a lot to make Instrument not boring. And that's one thing I love about her. She's always going, let's try something new. Let's do a lunch where we talk about what we're working on. I'm gonna make a poster for no reason. Great, do it. So back before we had so many people, I thought we should bring in some bands. And this is David Bazan coming to play. And that was probably my favorite TP session. So we called them the TP sessions. And we've had a ton of bands come and play. And I remember talking about this once, and someone said, how did you get bands to come to your office? And we just said, we asked them to come. People think it's a real big deal, but it's not. I don't even know if we asked to bring the band. I think I just had my friend come in and start playing. And they're like, well, why is that guy playing guitar in front of the TP? And then people slowly gathered around him. So that's TP sessions. Another thing is not having a motto is boring. I think at Instrument we had an unofficial tagline, digital craft, a long time ago. But before that, it was just Instrument, and we didn't really talk about, what does that mean? It's from Fugazi, the band Fugazi, but we didn't actually explain what we believe in or what we do. And I think that's another place you can come in as a designer is say you kind of are like this, or you're kind of these bright colors, and that's because you're kind of joyful. And that's why I think you're about joy. You can actually put things onto your own agency and help them discover who they are. So I saw these servers that we had. They had names like truth and courage and effort, and I thought that's really funny that they named the servers these really big values. And so I made a sticky note and gave it to my friend Toby Grubb, and he drew this T-shirt, and we gave it to our clients one year. And so it's become this unofficial motto, and it's not even, there's no brief for it. They weren't like, give us a motto in 3 words. It was just like, hey, I see this thing, let's make it a thing. And they did. So it's that easy to make something unboring. All right, part 3, this is the final part of my talk, and it's actually things you can do to do about boredom. So for yourself, for your friends, and for your family. For your friends, I think it's real important to work with friends because, if they're your friends, hopefully you like them, and hopefully they're doing things, not necessarily creative things, but they're doing something that you can help them get behind. Whether it's they're a poet, in my case, my friend Graham, or they're starting a business, you can just step in and be like, hey, I have some thoughts, your website, you can't read it, maybe we make it so you can read it. Then they'll be like, thank you. For Graham, for my friend Graham, he's such a great poet, and I believed in his poetry, but he was like, people don't care about poetry, people don't come to poetry shows, only poets come to poetry shows to listen to each other. And so he's like, I don't really know, and I think you're really good at what you do, and I know how to make stuff, so let's make you a book. And he had these, this was the cover of the book, and he had his some people at PNCA draw artwork interpreting the poems, and I put it together with the poetry, and we made a book, and we had a show, and a bunch of people came out and listened to him talk, and there's the artwork on the walls there. And he didn't think anybody would really care. And so I think what was great about this is you have the opportunity to make help your friends feel like what they're doing is people do care about it and is important. And you have the chance to kind of help them elevate what they're doing. And they don't have the tools to do that, but you do. So making a flyer, it sounds like a boring thing, but most people don't know how to make a good flyer, period. They'll like put the type too small, or they'll pick some colors that aren't readable. I mean, you have all these things that you don't consider that that are important. And for Graham, that was really helpful because he could write poetry, but he couldn't design a book. When you put it together, you get people paying attention. So help your friends out. Second, I think it's real important to find a cause you believe in. When I was at Wieden, they challenged us to find a nonprofit and put our efforts into that nonprofit. Because nonprofits, the magic of this is kind of like with the Friends statement, nonprofits can't afford Wieden+Kennedy. They're not going to say, hey, here's $1 million to do a brand campaign for the dog park, okay? But if you are an intern or if you work at Wieden+Kennedy, you have a brain that you are working on this high level, making things for these huge companies, and it's true and it sounds great. And you can take that same magic and apply it to the dog park situation and elevate it. And so for me, I picked the Mentoring Project, and they're a local organization that helps boys without fathers find a mentor. And the idea was Tony Dungy was going to town to talk, and what was he going to talk about? How was he going to talk about the Mentoring Project? And when I asked the head of the Mentoring Project what they did, he was like, well, we're training and we're equipping people to mentor. And it was like, what? I don't understand what you're saying. What's the problem? And he said, well, there's this list of boys in Portland that are waiting for mentors. And I was like, there you go. That's more interesting than equipping and training. So we made this campaign called End the List, and it was about how these are some posters again. And the idea was we could end this list if everybody signed up and helped a boy by becoming their mentor and being there in their life. So that's a way that the Wieden get it down to a tagline, make it true, make it simple, make it pop. All the things that you kind of learned from their work could be applied to someone that could never get to that level. I think we signed up like almost 100 people that day to be mentors for boys. And I think it's because they got the message. We also had something for Dungy to say. He was like, what do I say? And we're like, end the list. And he's like, okay. And he said, end the list. And I was like, wow, that was easy. So that's as simple as the world works. People that get on TV and talk, they just, I love the guy, but he needs you to give him some fuel. People need to know, people need to get it. So you have the ability to go, here it is. This is the idea. Have confidence in that. That's another thing. Maybe I'm ranting, but I think a lot of creatives sabotage their own work before they even present it. I hear this at Instrument. People think, Instrument, you guys are top level. I hear people on the call going, well, this design, I'm not sure if it's completely there, but, we wanted to try it. It's like, no, nobody's interested in hearing that. It's your work, own it, say it's good. Have confidence that you put the time into it. You don't hear a lawyer saying, well, I went to 8 years of law school. I'm not sure if this argument is going to be compelling. Here it goes. Guilty. All right, this is the final thing, third part. Help your family not to be bored. Families can be boring. It's almost the holidays. I don't know what family that you have personally. Maybe you have a really exciting family. I feel like Kate's family is really exciting. And, well, somebody's family is exciting in here. Somebody's got like a parenthood family where, you got all the people and they love each other. And they're like, there's no boundaries. They're just all in each other's business. And it's just like, whoa, you guys are weird, like, maybe your family is not super exciting. And my family, my parents are really old. I was a surprise, to put it lightly. And my mom had me, she's 42. And so they're in their 70s now. And they had their 50th wedding anniversary. And I wanted to do something special. So I wanted to make that not boring. The thing that you would do for your parents for their 50th wedding anniversary is you'd give them a call, you'd send them flowers, you'd make them a card. Or you could take the knowledge you have from being at PSU and about materials and about typography and about photography and layout and concepts and make something that's like shocking. And I don't think this is super shocking, but I made him a newspaper. And I had them drop it off on the morning that they had their anniversary. My niece dropped it off. And I just ordered it online, newsprint, newspapermaker.com or something. And I designed it and I put photos in it and I had people give me stories and interviews from my family from that day because I was not existent at the time. And there it is. It's a piece of family history that's could have been a card that said, good job, you made it to 50 years. But 50 years is crazy. Nobody in here is 50 years old, I don't think. Maybe they're close, but that's the amount of time they've been together. Okay? Like, they're old, they met and then were together 50 years. Think about that for a second. So, I don't know, if something pops in your mind like, that's really crazy, we should make a big deal out of that, then do it, Use your skills to make a big deal out of it because no one else is going to do it. That's the gift that you have. And so use the creative gift to make things not boring and also make space in your life for getting bored. Yeah, that's it. Does anyone have questions?
Questions for Zach?
Also, you can email me. That's my email. And, Vanessa, if you want to email me, I have an apology coming soon to you. So.
I have a question.
Okay.
You said something about the Y12 and the Y13 that you were going to explain. Did you explain that?
Oh, about WK12?
Yeah, you said you were going to mention something about that.
Yeah, so the 12 program, which is on hiatus, it's 13 people. It's on 13th Avenue over here in North Portland. And it's 13 months long. And it's called 12 because you're supposed to support the other 12 people, not yourself. So it's about the idea originally with Jelly Helm had was shared credit for every project. So it doesn't say art director, you, copywriter, you. It says art director, 12, copywriter, 12, photographer, 12. And that creates a sense of community and shared work and no egos. That was, I think, an incredible thought. Because if you do work and you try to make it the best you can make it without trying to think, my name's going on the paper, then it becomes more powerful, I think. So that's a long-winded answer for you. What else we got?
Any other questions?
If you raise your hand that I lost the razor, you have to ask a question.
You guys just got new offices. Like, do your new offices kind of like help the collaboration that you guys have already? Like, you guys are such a big team. You guys have grown so much. Have you kept some of that small feeling that you had in the beginning as you translate into this huge new space?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the question is the new space helping us be more collaborative, or are we kind of losing our way? Is that what you're saying? Yes and no. I think when you have a studio of 5 people, it's always going to have a special magic, and it's always going to have a special, I like that a lot. I like a small studio. And the thing that's nice about Instrument is we grew to 100 people, but we're 5 different teams, and each of the teams is like 15, 20 people, and that feels like a small studio. So it's like 5 studios in one. So yeah, we are trying with the new building to make it more collaborative because the building we're in was supposed to be temporary. I'll just go back to a picture of it for people that haven't seen it. This is just a warehouse in North Portland, and they just kept doing stuff to it, and then it looks like it was meant to be that way. The TV was like, there are 3 TPs, and it just got bigger and bigger. And the desks are just like laid out so we can cram every person in there. So the idea was to be in here temporarily. The new space is totally made to have quiet, which we don't have. We haven't had quiet for like 4 or 5 years. So think about that. And I think the way that they're structuring the building helps the teams to have more open space with each other. So these open office plans are kind of a curse because they're loud. More places to have quiet means more collaboration. So I think it's going to be good.
When are you moving in there? Soon, right?
Pretty soon, like
Yeah.
next couple weeks. Yeah, it's going to be sad to leave this building because it's imagine going somewhere every day for years and years while you're in school. So you kind of get it. More question?
You got a question? Brand massaging? Were you going to talk about that?
Oh yeah, brand therapy.
Brand therapy, sorry.
Okay, so brand therapy sounds really dumb, like social media ninja or something like that. Brand therapy. So when you go to therapy, I'm not going to ask anyone if they've been to therapy, but if you go to therapy, the point of it is, at least I've been told, is you try to find things behind your emotions and what you're going through that calls back to the past. There's something that you're kind of chasing. There's something from your childhood. There's something from your parents. There's like little things from growing up that affect you now. That's kind of the idea, I think. With brands, they need a therapist. They need someone to tell their problems to, and I think that we have to be good listeners and get to the bottom of it. Because a lot of times the brief is like one thing. The brief's like, we need a logo, and it'd be cool to have a website. The real truth is, like, the ship's on fire. Actually, we don't know what we do. We're hiring 1,000 people soon. Oh my gosh, I'm about to quit. Can you save it? Right? So see the difference? If you go through brand therapy with these clients, you listen for the real problems and then try to solve the real problems instead of, hey, here's some logos. Aren't these logos great? And they're like, yeah, these are great. And they're gritting their teeth because they're like, we're on fire, actually. So it's a book I'm going to write. It'll be on LinkedIn, free ebook, brand therapy, coming 2016. Stay tuned. Yeah, more questions. So just ask anything,
Do you
yeah.
have to talk directly to the client, or do you have to go through the account planner or someone else?
We don't have any layers of instrument. Everybody on the project talks to the client. So the point of that was producers and account people can sometimes get in the way of the feedback and what's really going on. Back to brand therapy. What's really happening here? And the client will tell the account person or the producer, well, we just don't like that shade of blue very much. And when really, we're on fire, is the truth. And so when you talk to the client directly, you have more of a chance to hear the real problem. And plus, they kind of trust you because you go through a lot with them. This morning we had a complete, maybe I look kind of down the dumps. We had a complete project reset. We were working on something for a few months now, and they're like, start over. We have actually a different thing we want to do. And it was like, okay, but that just happens. You have to embrace it. And if we would have layers and producers and account, well, we have producers, but if we had, we weren't hearing the actual feedback, then it might be even longer stretch before we got to that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Are you an account person?
No, I'm in advertising and marketing with a minor in graphic design.
Okay. Do you like it?
I do. It's interesting hearing like different experiences and different agencies. It's all kind of different.
Yeah.
But it sounds crazy to work at an agency because of all the changes, extreme changes.
Yes. So she's saying that it sounds crazy to work at an agency with all the changes, and that's part of it. Is it's a ride. I think as creatives we go, I have point A, the idea, point B, the logo, point C, I'm done. And it's more like point A, point, and then some calculus. Like this, and some like string theory, and the universe is melting and time is a circle, and then point B, the deliverable, and then point C, like someday. But don't think about that. Don't think about that. The real truth is just listen, be in the moment with the client. If they're like, we're starting over, go, we're starting over. And in advertising, sometimes you never make work. An instrument, we always pretty much launch projects, because I think we work with good clients, and we start with that no layers idea. So, yep, mustache.
So
After your schooling at Wieden+Kennedy, was your first job, you might have already gone over this, but was it writing, or did you get back into design and then kind of evolve into that? And how did you feel about the transition? Yep. So the question is, what happened after 12, and did I write, and how did I feel about the transition to writing? It was kind of a dark time after 12 because I joined the advertising world. And I went to an agency that was still figuring itself out. And I kind of failed pretty hard. We failed pretty hard. And it felt like this isn't working. I'm in the wrong business kind of situation. I came back to Instrument. Instrument rescued me from the clutches of this particular kind of advertising. And then it grew from a shop that was just doing development to actually making creative ideas. So I kind of lucked out because I got in on the ground floor of something that was growing to a place I wanted to be. It's hard to pick that, you know. Agencies are always changing. So when I started Instrument, I was a junior designer, to answer your question. And over time, I realized my design skills are not on par with J.D. Hoagie's design skills. My design skills are not on par with Martin Lindy, who used to be there. He's at Apple now, but there's just like, these guys are crazy good at what they do. What I'm potentially good at is writing alongside that kind of work, and then trying to make a case for it and saying, we need writers here, we need to do more writing. And then you prove it out with the client. You say, here's some good writing, and they go, that's great, let's use that. And then the agency goes, all right, we trust you, let's call this a job. That was the transition. And today we have 4 writers, and hopefully we'll have more as we grow. But so it is a small team. But the reality is sometimes you have to make your own path. Sometimes the job that you want does not exist. But no one's going to believe you that they should invent a title for you. You have to prove it with the work. So I think that's something to consider, is the job that you might end up getting isn't the job that's perfect for you. That's fine. Do it anyway, and you'll get there.
I think that's really good to point out, because I feel like so many people feel like the thing that they're going to school for is what that they're going to be doing after school. And I think it's that evolution. It's that being open to being flexible and really, you're figuring out as you're working and making. And so I think that's a perfect example of that. And I know that we had a grad who worked at Instrument, Ben Vickery, who started as a junior designer, but then he was like watching what the strategists were doing. He's like, I'm really interested in that. And it sounded like Instrument is a pretty supportive environment to like kind of try those things that you necessarily didn't go to school for. And he ended up, being a strategist. So it's just a good thing. And it's also like, don't worry if you're doing X and you end up doing Y. So.
Yep, exactly. I mean, my wife, real quick, and we'll do your question. My wife started as a drawing and painting major, and she's like, I'm a drawing and a painting person. I'm going to paint the rest of my life. But when she was bored, she would draw cartoons and sketch little stories of comics. And so she quit doing painting to write a graphic novel. What she did when she was bored is tell stories with pictures, and that just ended up coming out of her as a story. She spent 3 years on a book, 300-page book, a lot of effort, had to save money, move to Portland, really save to get by. But she put this book out, and she got a grant for it. She got a Zech grant, which is one of the last Zech times they did the Zech grant.
What's it called?
The book's called Picket Line, and you can get it at the Portland Library, or actually you can buy it, because we have a few copies at my house, if you can imagine. But they helped her put it out, and it was like, I guess that's just what she did. So if you're a designer right now, but you like to organize things, you might be a producer that's going to work really well with designers. That's why someone at Wieden told me that. They're like, you design, but you like to write, so be a writer that can design. There's not a lot of those. You could be a designer, you could be a writer, or you could be a designer that writes, but I can find some of those. Be the thing that's the rarest thing, and people will go, oh, you're special. You got a question?
Do you know if you guys will be offering your summer internship program again this year?
Yeah, so about the internship, are we going to do it? Yes, we're going to keep doing it. It's called camp, and I think they have 2 spots. They just filled for one of the teams, and I don't know if more are coming, but that will be announced, I think, over the next few months, because I think we had 3 seats and we made it 4 because we had so many good candidates. So that's a good way to get your foot in the door at instrument is camp to apply. We had 3 people in the last class and 2 of them now work for us. So.
Do you know when the application will be open, or it'll be announced?
I'm not sure when the application will be open, but the best thing would just be to follow us on Twitter, and we'll probably tweet it.
We'll let you know.
We'll tell Kate about it before it happens. She can get the entry code or something. What's that called? The code? Is there a discount code?
Discount card.
Yeah, it costs money to apply also. No, it doesn't. It's a terrible thing to say. Everyone's like, no, not doing it. Who has a question?
Are we good? We're good.
Okay.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
thanks everyone.
We have Justin Morris, who works at Camp Grizzly. He's going to be here live and in person, so same time, same place. Thank you, everyone, very much. See you on Thursday.
Yeah.